Hey everybody, it's Mark Wingerter here with Flyin Miata. Wanted to talk to you today about the ND 2016 to 2018 BBR turbocharger. We finally have kits on the shelf and ready to ship. So if you're on the fence, check this video out. We'll run through some of the basics on it. It's an awesome kit. Here we've got our test car. Probably most people are very familiar with this car. It did the 15 hours at Laguna Seca with this kit on it, and it's been photographed a couple of times over the time. It's the BBR Turbo Kit is actually a pretty fascinating thing. It's a lot different than the earlier turbo kits that we're used to. The earlier cars, as most people know, was really a turbo engine that didn't have a turbo on it till the Mazda speed in the Miata platform. This is definitely not. This is a naturally aspirated motor built that way. But it works exceptionally well at spooling a really big turbo, which is kind of an interesting thing that most people would not expect, or at least we didn't expect years ago. 13-to-1 compression. This is 3071 turbo. It's not the same as what we've used in the past in our FM2R packages and some of the earlier kits. Will be familiar with the numbers, but this is a custom version of that turbo for BBR's application. It's only running around 7 pounds of boost, which doesn't sound like much, but combined with the high compression, the large turbo, so a lot of airflow, doesn't need a lot of PSI to make a lot of power. This setup here at the wheels is 206 at the wheels, 200 for horsepower, and just under 207 in foot-pounds of torque, compared to the stock little under 130 at the wheels depending on the car. So talking about a big upgrade. One of the more impressive things here is that a lot of people say, want to avoid peaky turbos, and they like to go with a bigger engine because of this, or supercharger because it has low end throttle response. This thing makes over 150 foot-pounds of torque at 3,000 RPM, which is almost 50 foot-pounds more than stock at that point. It's a significant change. It's awesome in that rev range. Talk about a little bit of the breakout here and kind of some of the stuff that what we do that goes into this. So when you order a BBR turbo kit, you get a couple of options. You get no downpipe, or you get weld in the stock cat, which is required for carb legality, or you can buy a new, which we'll weld in here. Sorry, the audio cut out on us a little bit there. To get this carb legal, and everything has to be within those specs, or carb certified, I guess, or for this, we have to use the factory catalytic converter. Normal stuff not gonna work with the turbo. So when you order one of these kits, you pick an option, and you can actually ship your stock header to us, or ideally cut the stock cat out and ship it to us with the remaining part of the downpipe, and then we will weld that up here to the upper piece of the downpipe so that it mates up to the turbo kit. And that way you're maintaining a stock factory catalytic converter, and therefore keeping everybody happy at carb. And for that matter, once you pretty much get through carb, you can pretty much get through anybody's emissions testing in the country. That's about the hardest there is. So you can kind of see here, this one's been welded up. That one is a used cat. We can also sell you a new cat. There's obviously a cost difference there. 3071R turbo. This is actually one of, as compact as everything is in there, it's one of the easiest turbo kits to install that we offer. Fastest anyway. But you wouldn't think that based on the difficulty of installing sway bars on the ND. But the turbo kit goes on pretty easy. So, any questions?
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little off topic of turbos.
Okay.
But are we considering testing the BBR Super 220 kit for I'm guessing it's for the 2019 Plus NDs?
There's definitely some questions. We get that a lot actually at the CSR department. So that kit hasn't been through carb at this point. So it's definitely intriguing and it sounds really, really cool. We'd like to play around with one, but we haven't had a chance yet, and we're trying to stay within carb approval on most of our stuff. So you can pick that system up from BBR directly, but as of right now, we aren't offering it. That may change. We'll see. Over here, we've got all the goodies. So a lot of the stuff is hard to see when it's in the car, but honestly, beautiful workmanship. The guys over at BBR doing excellent work, which is why we chose to partner with these guys to execute this kit. But really, they did the kit. We're distributing for them. You know, it's we have pretty high standards, and these guys meet or exceed them. It's fantastic. So awesome. They call it a twin scroll outlet. Helps to spool that larger turbo. This is all about moving a lot of air, but this is it. Everything's here. So you've got hard lines where they should be. You got silicone lines wherever it makes installation a little but minimizing a lot of those connection areas, so you have less places where things can blow off. There's definitely some modification needs done to the shielding underneath the front of the car, just to run intercooler piping and also the inner fender liner, but you're really not cutting a bunch of metal like you do with some kits on the earlier cars. This is a pretty straightforward install. The instructions, until you get into all the pictures, are only 11 pages long, which is kind of crazy. And then they use Ecutech software to prepare the tuning on the car. So before you get the turbo in there, really before you do anything, you're going to take basically what amounts to a data log, and through the Ecutech software, send that to us. We'll get that kicked out to BBR for their modification of that map. Comes back, once the install's done, and you're off to the races. So.
Question on the cost of a kit.
Okay. Boy, all these numbers. I want to say it's $5,400, real close to that. Don't quote me. Go to FlyinMiata.com. Take a look there. I memorized every number except for the actual cost of. For a complete kit, and actually that's another difference here from the earlier cars. This will work with the stock clutch, up to around about 220 horsepower, I guess, is where we've estimated the clutch is good for. So this is inside of that, and definitely the stock clutch is capable. So really, you don't have to get into any other parts of the car to make this work. So from the articles that are out there from Road and Track, Automobile Magazine, that have tested this car, have had nothing but rave reviews to say about this kit, and just the way that it delivers power. It's not a dragster. Make a bunch of peak power way late in the RPM range. It's just smooth, fast. Everybody says it feels like a bigger engine, but people say that all the time. One of the interesting things here is you really don't hear any. You're not running a ton of boost, you're pushing a lot of air, but it just sounds like the car's breathing better. So very, very intriguing thing, and very different animal, much as the rest of the ND stuff, but very much in the spirit of the Miata. So any other questions?
I did look up the price, $62.44 starting.
That's why you don't quote me on that. $62.44 is the starting price on that. Is that without the downpipe?
That is without downpipe options.
So with the if you bought a brand new Cat, I know that's a six. If you go for the full new setup, you're probably looking closer to 7,000 with a brand new Cat, but starting at 64 basically, right? So. Yeah, we've got a couple of installers around the country, so be sure to look those guys up. If you don't have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you for joining us for this. And definitely there are some videos online of the car out on the track, and certainly lots of write-ups about Laguna Seca and what have you. If you're looking for a third perspective on the whole thing, definitely check that out. So thank you for joining us. Have a great day.